Hi, Jerry Mona with Boater Input out on Lake Palestine today. Now, if you're in the market for an aluminum fishing boat, there's a good chance you might be considering a Tracker. After all, they are the leading brand of aluminum fishing boats, especially in the Mod V category. So in today's video, I'm going to give you my review of the Tracker Pro Team 195 TXW. I've owned this boat for about 7 years. I bought it in July of 2018. And so I've had a lot of time on this boat, and I will share my thoughts of what I love about this boat, along with some things that I wish could do a little bit better. But before I get into that, let me just give you some of the specs on this boat in case you're not familiar. This boat, the 195 TXW, is 18 foot 7 inches in length. The beam is a generous 8 foot 2 inches. Now it comes packaged with a Mercury 115, but I upgraded it to the Mercury 150 4-stroke back here. And in terms of the electronics, it comes equipped with a Minn Kota Maxim 24-volt trolling motor. That's a cable-driven, non-spot lock trolling motor. And in terms of fish finders, it comes with 2 Hook 5 fish finders. It's got one up here in the bow, and it also has one over at the console, at the helm. However, I've swapped that one out. We'll talk about that a little bit later. The other thing it comes with is a 3-bank built-in battery charger that you can see down here. And it also comes with a single axle trailer. I added a to this boat. So altogether, back in 2018, I spent about, I think it was around $30,000. Today, this boat retails for around $36,000. So it's gone up, roughly $1,000 per year. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my use case, because there is no such thing as a perfect boat for everybody. It all depends on where you use it and how you use it. So in my particular case, I'm on Lake Palestine. This is a pretty good sized lake. It's 25,000 surface acres. I'm a bass fisherman. I take my boat out 40 to 50 times a year, so I go out quite often. And this particular lake has a lot of stumps and timber in areas, and so my boat does, to be honest, take a little bit of abuse from time to time. And but this boat can handle that most of the time. So we'll talk about that. Now, so let's talk about some of the things that I really love about this boat. And the first thing I would say is the performance. With that 150 Mercury engine. By the way, I should point out the package weight with that 150 is about 2,700 pounds, in case that matters to you. But with this 150, this boat will do about 60 miles an hour. Now I've got a 24-inch stainless steel prop on it, so it'll do about 60 miles an hour. So that's plenty fast for my needs. I'm a recreational angler. I don't tournament fish, so that's plenty fast for me. The engine is quiet. It's efficient. I don't burn through much gas, and it's been very reliable so far. So I would say number one is performance. The second thing I would talk about is the ride quality. For an aluminum boat, this boat rides quite well. Now at 18 foot 7 inches, it's got a pretty good length, so that certainly helps. I think the hull is well designed, and so it gives a pretty smooth ride. You go out in 1-2 foot chop, no problem at all. You go much more than that, yeah, you're going to take a bit of a pound and you're going to have to slow it way down. It's not going to be as smooth as, say, a fiberglass boat. And that's no knock on Tracker. That's just an inherent difference between aluminum and fiberglass boats. Fiberglass with that extra weight are naturally going to ride a bit smoother in rough water than, say, an aluminum boat. But for the most part, the Tracker rides quite well. And so if you live on a medium to larger size body of water, this can definitely work for you like it does for me. So another thing that I really like about this boat is the deck space. And I'll show you that here. So because it's got such a nice beam at 8 foot 2 inches, you've got a really big and wide deck. And as anglers, we know that we spend 80 to 90% of our time up here. And as you can see, I usually go fishing with 4 to 5 rods in the right, 4 to 5 rods in the left, yet I still have plenty of room to kind of move about up here on the front of the boat. So that's really important to me. And another thing too, and it'll be hard to see here, is because it's a very wide boat, wide beam, it's pretty stable. So I'm just going to move a little bit from side to side. And, I don't know if you can see it tipping just a little bit, tips just a little bit. but not a whole lot. So that's a nice little characteristic as well. Now, whenever I talk to boaters about what they look for in a boat, one of the things that's near the top of most people's list is storage. And this boat has plenty of storage. So let me start off by showing you the rod lockers. And so you've got a rod locker on both the port and starboard side, and each one will hold 12 rods. And what's nice about it, if you can see it down here, is you've got these little tubes in the back here, and then you got this little organizer back in here, so it keeps it all very neat, very tidy, protects your rods so you don't damage them. So that's very nice. And like I said, you've got that on both sides. And then in terms of tackle storage, you've got this big compartment here. It's got a shock on it, so I really like that, so it stays up there. Now I've got 8 tackle utility boxes in there. It can handle twice as much as that, but I've got other junk in there as well, and I got a whole bunch of soft plastics because that goes back up there in a little ways. So I've got several bags of soft plastics tied in there, and so you've got plenty of storage for all the tackle that you would need. In addition to that, you got another storage hatch right behind it. This one doesn't have a shock, so that's not as great, but this is a place where I'll throw things like it has your fire extinguisher built into it. I'll put in an extra life jacket, rain gear, rope, extra tools in this compartment. So that's really handy too. Behind that, you have this cooler. Now let me just back up so you can get a better perspective. So that's kind of the step up to the bow. There's this little cooler area right here. Now I don't use this as a cooler. I don't get the point of taking the cooler down just to dump it in and then have to load it up in the day. Instead, what I use this for is when I go fishing, if I have extra line, or if I pull some debris out of the lake, I'll throw it into here because you got a little drain plug down the bottom, and so it'll just naturally drain out. And then for your co-angler, you've got some extra storage spots here in the back. This will hold, I think it's 6 tackle trays on each side. So you got, again, one on the port and one on the starboard side. It's lined, it's got a lip on it, so it's not going to take any water in there too. So that's all very nice. So it's got plenty of storage. So those are some of the key things that I really like about this boat. And then one last thing, it's kind of a minor thing, but you see these cleats here. They've got a pretty nice quality cleat. It's a flush cleat. And I don't use these very often. My boat stays on a lift, so I don't have to go to a dock and launch and load and tie it up very often, but occasionally I do. What's nice about this is, you know, when I'm not needing it, I can fold it down because I like to pitch. And I don't want any obstructions on my gunnel that might catch my line. So it's a little thing, but it's kind of a nice little touch. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the things that I'm not crazy about with this boat. And in my opinion, the biggest thing that keeps this from being a serious fishing boat out of the box is the installed electronics that it comes with. Specifically, they come with the 2 5-inch Lowrance finders, again, one at the bow and the other at the console. And that screen's pretty small. And, you know, here's the one that originally came at the console, which I've replaced. It's got this kind of a cheesy little bit of mount here, and it shakes as you go down the lake, and so it's hard to see. It comes with a triple shot. At the console, it comes with a triple shot transducer. What's nice about that is that gives you not only 2D sonar and down scan, but it also gives you side scan. That's the good news. The bad news is on that 5-inch screen, side scan's almost worthless. So that's one problem. Another problem is you can check out this transducer. This is the one that comes with the Hook series. It's this long transducer, again, to get you that side scan. It's all plastic. Well, the problem is this is a pretty good boat in terms of performance. It can get 60 miles an hour. So one day I was driving down the lake, and when I got to my spot, I had no fish finder, and that's because it just snapped from the force just driving down the lake. So that just does not work. And after that broke the second time, I said, heck with that. I went ahead and replaced the fish finder with this Lowrance HDS Live fish finder. And one of the other thing I did with this as well, I'll show you, and I highly recommend this, is this ram mount that I used back here. What this does is, see, this is where they mount your little 5-inch hook fish finder. So it's kind of tucked back a little bit behind the, from the console. So it makes it a little bit harder to read. So, but this is a ram mount horizontal swing mount. So it brings the fish finder in closer to you, and it sits on there much more stable. It's not shaking around like it did beforehand. So I'll leave a link to this in the video description. But one other thing I want to point out, if you want to mount one of these, get yourself a piece of what they call marine board, which is this piece right here, and cut it to be a little bit wider than the base of the ram mount, and then you'll need to cut a little channel in like this so you can run your wires up to your fish finder. But that is a huge improvement over what was originally there. Now, the other thing in terms of electronics is it comes with a Minn Kota Maxim trolling motor. Now, I don't actually have that trolling motor on this boat because I recently blew mine up. And so this is a loaner trolling motor from my friend Mark. So Mark, if you're watching this, thank you. Thank you for that loaner. But it comes with the Maxim, which is a pretty good trolling motor, cable-driven trolling motor, but it doesn't have spot lock. And the Ultrex or Ghost, those kinds of trolling motors are a lot more money, so I can understand why they didn't package with that. But if you're a serious angler, it'd be nice to have the option to do so, because that, having that spot lock really is a game changer, and you don't have that option to get that when you buy this boat. But I am going to upgrade that when I replace that here soon. Some of the other things I don't like about the boat is here's your dash, and the dash is actually laid out kind of nice, very clean. You got your standard odometer, tachometer, pressure, alternator output kind of thing. And then on the right side, you got your aerator for your live well system. And on the left side, you got your bilge and lights. So pretty nice. But one thing that's missing on here is an hour meter. And because most of your boat maintenance is based on hours, to me, that's not an optional item. That should come standard on a boat, kind of like having an odometer on your car. So I wish that had, again, an hour meter built in. The other thing that I'm not crazy about either, and this is kind of more of a new development, are the seats. So here are the seats, and they look nice, and they actually are quite comfortable, okay? But if you look carefully, this just started happening. My seam started blowing out here. That may be partially my fault, because sometimes when I'm starting off and getting up on plane, I may put my knee down in there just to give me a little extra height to see over the windscreen, see over the bow. So maybe that put a little add stress there. But I think that should have held up a little bit better than that. So that's not great. And speaking of seats, the other thing that I'm not crazy about are the pedestal seats that they put in here. These may be fine if you're a pan fisherman, you're fishing a spot, you're dropping a live bait down or a bobber, you're fishing in place. But if you're a bass angler like myself and you're moving around, these seats sit too low. I'm not going to sit. I like to get a higher elevation when I go into cast, or certainly when I go into pitch. I want a higher elevation. So I never use this seat because it's too low for me. I'd rather have a lean seat or a butt seat. So because that doesn't really work for me, 95% of the time, I don't have this seat in place. The only time I use it is if it's so windy that I need it to keep from falling out of the boat. And the second thing I don't like about this seat, and this was kind of a bad move on Tracker's part, it's a little thing, but it's an annoyance, is they used to have a strap to keep this fastened down for when you're running. Well, they took that out, probably to save a couple pennies, but in so doing, when you run down the lake now, this will invariably fly open, it'll obstruct your visibility, it'll give you an added resistance, and it's probably not good for the seat either. So that's kind of a dumb little thing that someone who probably is not someone who uses this kind of boat very often made that design decision, and that was just definitely not a good move in that regard. Again, a little thing, but definitely an annoyance. A couple of other things that are kind of a little bit, more minor issues is here's your bilge area, and this is, pretty well done. You got your area down here, you got your gas tank on the left, and then you've got your starting battery back here. You've got 2 deep cycle batteries here, one's tucked underneath. You can get to them pretty readily, but what they don't have in here is a kill switch, which I'd like to see so that you don't inadvertently run down your batteries because you left a light on or a graph on, that kind of thing. And then the final issue is something that I didn't think of at the time I got this boat, but now that I've been using this for a while and living on this lake, it's become more apparent to me is this boat, the aluminum on this boat is 100 gauge aluminum, or 0.1 inches, or a tenth of an inch. And that's not bad, but there are other boat manufacturers now, including Tracker, by the way, on some other models, that have 0.125 inch thick aluminum. Now, given that my lake is full of stumps and logs, it would have been nicer and give me a little bit more peace of mind by having that thicker hull. Now, I have hit plenty of stumps on this boat, going at a slow speed, of course, and I have dented it in a spot, but I had no cracks, no leaks, nothing of that nature. So it's been pretty robust. But again, I think that little bit thicker hull material, gauge of aluminum, would have been a nice thing, which again, I didn't think of at the time that I bought this. So those are some of my thoughts of what I like about and what I dislike about the Tracker Pro Team 195 TXW. And that brings us to the $64,000, or in this case, $36,000 question, which is, if I was shopping for a boat, would I consider another Tracker? Or should you, or who is a Tracker best suited for? I will say from my perspective and my usage, I really like this boat. And once you upgrade the electronics, then you have a pretty serious fishing machine. And I'm a pretty avid angler. So I've been very happy with this boat. And now that I've upgraded some of the equipment, I'm going to upgrade some of the rest. Then it's a nice boat, and I would certainly consider one once again. But it wouldn't be the only one I would consider too. I would also look at, I know Vexus makes some beautiful aluminum fishing boats. I would take a look at that, as well as Express has a really good reputation. So I would want to price them out with the kind of equipment that I'd want to have installed and see how they compare. But I would have no problem going with the Tracker once again. So who's this boat best suited for? Well, if you're a recreational angler and you don't go out very often, say 10, 15 times a year, you're not that serious, or you want something to take the kids out fishing or grandkids, then this boat is probably fine for you just as is. But if you're a little bit more serious angler, maybe you want to do a tournament on occasion, then you're definitely going to want to upgrade the electronics on this boat to make it, in order to be happy with it. So anyway, let me know your thoughts regarding the Tracker and whether you would consider one, or if you've owned a Tracker, let me know what your experience has been in the comment section down below. And if you liked this video and found it helpful, do me a big favor, click on that like button, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel to get my latest tips and advice to help you purchase, equip, and maintain your boat. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the water.